To be very honest, I'm not going to lie to you. There are really no sure ways in 2024 to land a job. I'm going to be very honest with you. I struggled with writing the scripts for this video. I struggled with making this video. I iterated across various titles, and I decided that this video is just going to be how I would approach job hunting in 2024. This is honestly my mental model for approaching job hunting in 2024. And to be very honest, I wish you don't have to look for a job in 2024. I would rather that you don't need this video. I would rather that you have a job where you're happy. I would rather you have a team you call your own and the products you're excited about, and also an assurance of compensation for as long as your family and your needs depend on it. However, if you're not that person and you really need to find a job in 2024, I'm hoping that my mental models and how I would approach job in 2024 would be useful to you and would be what you need to get your job in this new year. Alright, so the first thing is that I would be much more interested in early stage startups with products or in markets I'm interested in. The truth is this: most early stage startups across the board are broke. If they're not profitable or if they didn't just raise a large sum of money, they are essentially broke. Which means any early stage startup in 2024 who is hiring has probably done a lot of work to convince their executives and to convince investors that the money they're about to spend on hiring the candidates is essential to revenue generation. So I feel it's much more safer to apply to early stage companies than big tech companies, because there are more convoluted process between the hiring team, the finance team, and the accounting team, and projections at big tech companies. Big tech companies have more convoluted communication, and there's usually a lot of bureaucracy around it, and you can get to a point where you get hired by a big tech company, or you even get, and we saw this happen a lot in 2023, where big tech companies gave out internship offers and even offers to software engineers and rescinded them in months, weeks, and even the day the hires were supposed to start. And so personally for me, if I'm in the market right now in 2024, I would be optimizing for early stage Series A, Series B companies, because they would be much more conservative with their budgets. And if they're hiring right now, I anticipate that they have probably gone through a more rigorous process to convince the executives, to convince the accounting team, and to also convince their investors that their hiring budget is worth it. So secondly, I would do a skill check. As more companies are downsizing, the expectations of hiring managers would increase, because companies have much less resources and tighter hiring budgets. So most hiring managers right now are most definitely looking for candidates with a very little ramp up time, candidates that can start offering value ASAP. And so I'll do two things. One is that I would look at jobs that I am interested in, jobs that I feel should be my ideal job, my ideal role, my ideal compensation. So I would look at my ideal jobs for the ideal role and the ideal compensations that I want, and I would spend time looking at their expectations from the ideal candidates, and I would create a mind map of their must-haves and their nice-to-haves. I'll try my best to ensure that I have about 70 to 80% of their must-haves, and then as much as possible in their nice-to-haves. The second thing I would also try to do is reconsider my expectations of an ideal job. The market dynamics right now in 2024 is entirely different from the market dynamics that we had in 2021, and kind of almost different from the dynamics we had last year, 2023. And so it's not a bad thing to be honest and accept that maybe your ideal job only existed in the bubble, and right now you probably need to be more conservative. And this is going to be one of the things I would consider. I would reassess the compensation I'm looking for and the title, the role, the kind of company I want to work at, and try to figure out what is realistic based on my skill sets in 2024, and go for those jobs that match my skill sets while I'm still upskilling and looking forward to either a better job or a promotion or a salary increase at my startup. Because if you join a company and you massively impact their revenue targets, you can get the company to a place where it can become the ideal job and pay you your ideal compensation. So the next thing is that I would optimize for economic fundamentals. I would optimize for the unit economics of the companies I'm searching with and the companies I'm interviewing with. So I'll speak to hiring managers and ask them extensive questions about their plan for revenue, their plan for profitability, how much dependency do they have on VC funding, what stage of the company are they in, and how are they ensuring that across the board, across all their decision making, across their product thinking, across marketing and sales, everybody within the organization is optimizing for revenue, and how are they thinking about ensuring that they have strong stability within the market. To a very large extent, what brought us to this point are founders and executives who are optimizing for growth at the expense of unit economics. So it's important to ensure that you are optimizing for startups that are conscious of revenue. Now, startups are in different stage and in different markets with different dynamics. So it's important to consider the uniqueness of the startup and their market. Some startups at their stage need to be more VC dependent, but the core mentality that you should be looking out for are founders and leadership teams and executives that are very conscious of revenue and optimizing for revenue and optimizing for a reality where they're profitable and ensuring that they have true unit economics and product market fit. Now, finally, and I know a lot of people would not consider this, and if you've stayed to this point in the video, thank you. The final thing I would consider is the exit provisions of the company and the probability of a layoff or the probability of an exit. Now, I would gauge the probability of an exit by asking the hiring manager why they're hiring for the role. Are they backfilling for the role, or are they hiring because they're optimizing for revenue? I want to ensure that whoever I'm joining is prioritizing the impact of my role and revenue, which means that they're thinking about my role from a revenue-oriented perspective. I also want to consider the provisions they have for a sudden layoff. Nobody expects or nobody plans for a sudden layoff, but it's important to know if they have plans for severance or if they have planned for some form of extended health insurance. I had friends who were affected by the layoffs and were in positions where they had to start dipping into their savings because the companies who just hired them had no plan for severance. I had people who relocated to different countries because they had an offer and got there, and in less than 1 month got their offer cancelled and didn't even get more than 1 month of severance, and no plan from the organization to help them find another job or to help them figure out their visa situation. So it's important that you're having these conversations with the hiring manager. Ask them about their exit provisions. Do they provide severance? Do they provide some form of extended health insurance? Whatever is important to you, have these conversations with them. It's better not to take a job where if there is a sudden layoff, you would be in a precarious situation. Or if you're taking such a job, it's good to be prepared for it. It's good to know or have a clear sense of your expectations if there is a sudden layoff. All right, friend, sincerely, I hope you're not looking for a job in 2024. But if you are, I hope this video is helpful. If you have questions about job hunting, please drop a comment on this video and I'll do my best to answer them. I'm Ayomi Eric. See you next time.